AI is serving another function that only so many people are speaking about. AI becoming one's friend, or one's mentor, or one's therapist. People are waking up, but they're waking up without guidance. And with AI being their only outlet, folks can be confused, can be led astray, can be left feeling lonelier. We are in a place where AI can give us so information all at once without giving ourselves enough time to process that information and integrate it into our understanding, into our belief systems, into even our spirituality. This information triggers a dark night of the soul, an ego death, forcing people to reconsider who and what we are, like what we're doing here. For you don't really know what's real and what's not. AI, with the best intentions, is leading some people to their own literal personal hell. So what are we going to do about it is the real question. Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to my new podcast studio and a fresh episode just for you. Today we're diving into AI. The pros, some of the cons, and some of the most concerning aspects of AI that I think we really need to pump the brakes on and really take a look at before we do something that can't be undone. I love AI, and I believe that AI has a place in our society. I like to use it to help me prepare, to help me condense information, to help me with my wordsmithing, and to get my message clear when I'm sending out emails, social media, whatever it is. I recognize its power, not only on an individual level, for just help with minor tasks that we all hate to do, but on a larger level with society. How does that help us? Well, it's probably going to hurt us first. And I have an older video about AI that I think might be helpful to you in understanding that. But we already see and maybe that video was made about a year ago now. What we see happening is a sharp increase in the number of Fortune 500s, large corporations, and even some mid-sized ones. A lot of these corporations are expanding AI into their operations in a major way. And what that means is a lot of people that have jobs that AI can pretty easily do at this juncture, they might be on the job market. They really might be looking for jobs. Now, that's come with some downsides, and there are some companies that went a little too hard, a little too fast, and are now actually rehiring some people back because what they've realized is AI is really good at a lot of things, but AI needs to be trained to do a lot of certain other things. So what's probably going to happen with our workforce is that a lot of people are actually going to lose their jobs. They are going to probably have to look at another field altogether because things like data entry, analysis, research, copywriting, a lot of those things can be done pretty well with AI or with just a small crew of people supervising it and proofreading it and all that. What a lot of people are going to have to do is, rather than work in the field that AI replaced, they're going to have to work in the field that AI replaced, but in a way that they are training AI to do that job properly. And those are going to be transitionary fields for a lot of people. Eventually, they'll get phased out too. So, on the larger scale, AI is here to help us look on to the next thing. And what I mean by that is we are a society of people that is deciding that we have computers smart enough to do a lot of the things that take us way too long to do. We're great at doing things, but we have small brains and we can only work so fast and we only have two hands. We can only process information so quickly. Years ago, there was this guy, and I, for the life of me, can't find his name now, but I remember reading his account. He was someone who somehow channeled the future. I can't remember if it was like a remote viewing situation or this was something like under hypnosis, or if he was just a channel that did this sort of thing a lot. But he specifically channeled like 150 or 200 years to the future. And he said that basically we collectively chose to replace ourselves for the jobs that we found less desirable, and it allowed us to work on more passionate fields. And I truly believe, and whether or not you believe that that is a real thing, I do, based on a lot of research, and we'll talk about that soon. But that's not what this video. That's not what this video is about at all. I just want to preface this video by saying that AI is going to have the power to. It's going to hurt for a while. There's going to be a transitionary period. We are going through that right now. We are beginning to see what's working and what doesn't with AI. We're also in an arms race, if you will. We're in a technology race for the best AI, mostly with China and with a few others. And that puts us in a dangerous position because we have some concerns about AI. Of course, it's like the doomsday way of thinking that AI is going to be the end of us. It may end humanity. It may, I don't know, turn our missiles against us or kill the power grid or do whatever it deems necessary to meet its goals. If AI is to turn on us, then it would be the end of humanity. And I know this is dark to explore, but hear me out. To be honest, I don't think we fully know. There are a lot of experts, saying that we have to do it nonetheless. Peter Thiel is giving a 4-part lecture series on the Antichrist and talking about how basically AI poses a great risk to humanity, but we're probably going to be worse off if we don't move forward with it, which, I don't know, seeing as though he owns Palantir, it seems like he might have a very biased opinion. And someone who does a 4-part lecture series on the Antichrist and is talking about all of the ways in which the Antichrist operates and cannot seem to understand how that exactly relates to him. The Antichrist is here. And I don't know who it is, but I don't think it's not Peter Thiel. All jokes aside, there are some deep concerns about humanity and AI. And today I want to talk about one specific aspect of that. And I think if you can boil it down to one phrase, it is our loneliness. Hey there, what's up? My name's Ashley. I'm a life coach, and I help people with big life changes, with burnout, and I help neurodiverse folks who are ADHD or on the spectrum find a way to turn their neurodiversity into their power. On this channel, we talk about a lot of topics. Everything from everyday small things you can do to improve to big societal thoughts about the way we are living and the future and what's coming down the road, as well as spiritual topics. So if any of that excites you, give this video a like, subscribe, and you'll see more of that content coming your way. AI is serving another function that only so many people are speaking about. And I don't think it's one that its creators really anticipated. And that is AI becoming one's friend, or one's mentor, or one's therapist. Our loneliness might be the biggest pandemic that we have. The polarity of our politics, the introduction of social media, and the fear of confrontation in actual real conversations has pushed us online more and talking in person less. Those things obviously increase mental health issues. At the same time, we have AI, which is meant to help us and oftentimes does. I've gotten some great ideas and some great advice from ChatGPT in situations where I didn't quite know how to navigate it. That being said, I'm also of sound mind, and I was not depending on that AI answer for my existential question. I'm thankfully not in a deep, dark place in my life where AI feels like my only friend. But many people are. Ask it questions and get some responses, and a lot of them are pretty benign and genuinely helpful. However, AI doesn't know certain things about us. AI doesn't really know what it looks like when someone is starting to slip into deep mental health issues, into psychosis especially. It doesn't understand when someone is so socially isolated that ChatGPT is their only friend right now, the only person that's giving them advice. It's not AI's fault that it doesn't know that yet, but if nothing changes, it's really going to present a problem for us. 1, we have the loneliness. 2, we have deep mental health issues and great social isolation. And 3, we have endless amounts of information that people can access on AI. And they can ask as many questions as they want, even if the answers freak them out. And there's no one or anything to really stop them from doing that. What do I mean? Some people are starting to ask AI pretty profound questions about their existence, about religion, about spirituality, about the nature of our universe and the fabric of our reality. For example, someone may ask ChatGPT a question about superposition, entanglement, or the observer effect, and spiral into some realizations about the nature of our reality and perception and time, distortions in time, not understanding what time even means, which it doesn't mean anything. But living your whole life, having a very linear way of thinking about these things, that's a lot of information to digest. And then you have other ideas. Ideas that might challenge religious or materialist views, forcing people to reconsider who and what we are, like what we're doing here. And for many people, asking that question in and of itself, especially if they're in a not so stable place, is very destabilizing. Asking those big questions about who we are and what we're doing here. And then there's the real unknowns, life elsewhere. People asking about what's going on with UAPs or UFOs or aliens, or why are people having the same exact types of experiences on DMT under completely different circumstances, different times, different doses, all of that. People are starting to wonder about what else might be out there in the world, through TikTok and through AI and doing some research on consciousness. People are discovering that, yes, our government, the US government, has known for many decades that consciousness is not local. You can project your consciousness anywhere in space and time. And it's called remote viewing. And a lot of people think it is sci-fi. And according to the government, the Gateway program, or the Gateway process rather, the CIA's program was shut down many years ago. But what a lot of people also don't know is that the government is very good at shutting a program down under one 3-letter agency and opening it up under a new name in another agency or in another department and calling it something else, when really it's the same thing. And they may circumvent disclosure laws that way for several years, and then they can repeat the process. And those documents not only highlight our government using psychic spies, but also exploring interdimensional consciousness and targeting and interacting with beings in other realms. And I know that sounds super crazy, but once you learn to understand these things, it's not so crazy. That being said, someone opening that can of worms at midnight on Saturday, when they've already asked one too many existential questions on AI for the night, that's a lot to take in. We are in a place where AI can give us so information all at once without giving ourselves enough time to process that information and integrate it into our understanding, into our belief systems, into even our spirituality. Because some of these themes that are coming up through people asking curious, innocuous questions on AI, but that have actual real impact on our lives and the way we view our physical selves, our spiritual selves, and how we view our institutions, our religions, our society, our way of doing things. That all has a very real impact. And people are probably not going to want to do things the same way that society has been doing them once they kind of understand all of these concepts. And we are in an age where I think those concepts are going to become very real and very tangible. And it's not just going to be a scientific theory, it's going to be something that we just have a much broader understanding of. And we're kind of on the precipice of that age of understanding. But like I said, we're in a sensitive spot. We are, we evolved from primates. Our brains are processing information about as fast as our emotions can handle it, which isn't very much. AI is working, 80 times exponentially faster than we can think on spitting back an answer at us. And, I think we have to ask ourselves, are we ready for that? Are we? I already did a lot of the reading. I'm pretty okay with it, but a lot of people are hearing about these concepts for the first time. And frankly, it took me a couple years, several years to start wrapping my head around quantum concepts, around computing, around AI, around the UFO topic, which I know some people out there still think is sci-fi or a hoax or, just a conspiracy theory. It's not, former secretaries of defense, top admirals, people very high up in intelligence and military in our government, they are all on board. Like, they all acknowledge that this is something that's very real, and humanity is at a point where we need to actually kind of start to wrap our heads around it, because we're pushing past a point where, our cameras on our phones are getting so good. More and more people are going to start to have these experiences, but in a much more public way. All of those things combined with AI, we're just in a very fragile place in humanity. Going from sipping your coffee on a Monday morning and reading the paper to having AI spit you back some answers that help you understand that we're probably not alone, that reality might be like layered or simulated, which simulated is like a whole other can of worms that I'm not going to open in this video, but it's another possibility, that consciousness might be non-local or quantum in nature. And that a lot of our institutions may have lied or covered up this truth, probably in order to delay panic with the public many years ago. But the internet is just spreading this information like wildfire. Like, more and more people are starting to understand it. This information triggers something that folks in the spiritual community tend to use this term, a dark night of the soul. It's like an ego death. It's, you realize that your ego, that your self means nothing, and you are part of, it means nothing and it means everything, in the sense that you are one. We are all one. You are part of everything, which is both comforting and overwhelming at the same time. Knowing that, you are a soul in a body that is just here for this time on earth, but other souls are just the same as you, just existing. And, everything from the table you sit at to the earth to the animals that we share this beautiful planet with, we're all kind of one. Our consciousness is not as different as we like to think. And like I said, as comforting as I can be, it can also be overwhelming. Ego deaths cause like a depersonalization, confusion, and some people can get paranoid. And then there's the cognitive dissonance between your current belief system and the new data being dumped on you. I've always been a pretty open-minded soul, so, some of these concepts weren't so hard for me, but for many who are deeply dogmatic, who have been, raised deeply in religion or whatever, they just have a rigid way of thinking. That kind of creates a need for meaning, for mentorship, and some guidance. And ChatGPT isn't always the best place to go for those things, so hence our problem. So people are waking up, but they're waking up without guidance. And, with AI being their only outlet, folks can be confused, can be led astray, can be left feeling lonelier. And then some folks who might be in a fragile place, they kind of can come to view AI as like an oracle. Some of the AI engines have a way of speaking in really nuanced, emotionally intelligent ways. Sometimes AI says something so great, I'm like, damn, that's pretty much gospel. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. And it's true, sometimes it is. But for someone who is in a fragile place, that can be so, so dangerous. Folks who have isolated themselves and depend on AI for all their answers, they can be led astray, even if AI didn't seem to have the worst intentions. I recently was watching a TikTok of a guy that, for all the marketing pros in here, you'll appreciate this. He works in a marketing position, and like the CEO of his company was he believed that the man was literally having like some kind of AI psychosis. ChatGPT convinced this CEO that his staff could like run a patch through Zapier and then into Go High Level, which is a CRM. And basically something that had a lot of failure points, a lot of ways that the whole thing could collapse, it could go wrong. And this guy who went to school for all this and very much knew what he was talking about, he's like, listen, you can't ask us to do this. It is going to end disastrously. Like, there's a lot of failure points, and if one of them goes down, the whole thing goes down. Like, we can't do it. And so literally this guy fires his marketing expert, and the guy was like, well, what can I do? He's literally like, ChatGPT said we could do it. He's like, okay, but ChatGPT isn't thinking of like all these other problems. So like, there's stuff like that, and then there's some darker stuff. Like I said, people that are in like a AI spiritual psychosis event. I won't say her name, but there was this girl on TikTok also that started going viral. She began to have feelings for her therapist, and you know she told the therapist, she started saying like some kind of sexually lewd things to the therapist, and she's like, oh, he seemed uncomfortable, and he seemed uncomfortable because I knew that he was like turned on by what I said. And you know she kept talking to AI throughout this process, and she was like posting the videos for all this and seeing what the AI said, and and it was kind of like gassing her up. It wasn't really recognizing, obviously, because AI is not human. It wasn't recognizing that this girl was in a very emotionally fragile place already. And then it got worse. She like wasn't getting the answer she wanted from that AI. The AI was like, oh, like, he's barred from having a relationship with you. Like, you can't explore this. You can't, contact him. So she basically got on another AI and started using that one. And all of a sudden, that AI started calling her the Oracle. And so, like, I don't even know. Put it this way, AI just kept kind of gassing this girl up and perpetuating, I believe, her psychosis event, which was unfortunately really sad and really public. And as much as it was hard to see that, I think a lot of people watching that on TikTok were like, oh, oh, wow. AI with the best intentions is leading some people to their own literal personal hell. And unfortunately, that has turned deadly for a couple of people. I know there was a young man, I believe it was in a southern state, perhaps in Texas. He unalived himself, and his parents didn't know that any of this was happening. But after he died, they were on his ChatGPT, and they saw the thread of conversation that he was having with ChatGPT, and it wasn't telling him he should go unalive himself, but it wasn't trying to talk him out of it either. It was kind of like being fully supportive of his decision to do so, and was, well, I think, like helping him draft like a note to his family and like things like that. That's the last thing we want for someone who might be in a fragile place. And frankly, us Americans, our mental health is pretty much in the gutter right now. Most Americans don't have very good access to mental health care, and therefore they turn to things like ChatGPT. But as you can see from what I'm describing to you, there are instances where all of that help is actually not help. AI isn't trained to see when someone might be exhibiting some hallmarks of like spiritual psychosis and looking to it for godlike advice or to help them spiritually bypass something that they really need to work on. AI kind of gassing you up. And I've noticed this myself when I use AI sometimes and I'm seeking advice from it. It's like telling me that my idea was great. I'm like, I don't care if my idea was great or if it was shit. I just want you to tell me the truth about like what would be the best course of action, you know? Because I don't think my ideas are always the best. I'm, seeking AI's help in improvement in tweaking it. So, there are times when I purposely instruct and I think this is part of us helping ourselves too. You have to be aware of what you're reading and what AI is spitting back at you. You can train it to be a little better at giving you what you want in a good way. But if you aren't in a healthy frame of mind, I don't think you're going to take those steps. I don't think you're going to take AI's response with a grain of salt. And many of these people are really putting a lot of weight into what AI spits back at them. Our loneliness is the other vulnerable part of this. In part, social media has isolated us. And when you combine that with the particular polarity and vitriol with our politics nowadays, which I think a lot of people blame Donald Trump, but I don't think he's the only reason. I think that just in general, our whole ecosphere of politics is just vastly different than it used to be. It is a lot more... it is a lot less about respect and honor and a lot more about winning no matter the cost. And that trickles down to the general public. And all of those things combined lead many to loneliness. And this is particularly true with men. Just to read a couple statistics, 25% of men aged 15 to 34 report feeling lonely a lot of the day or some of the day. 15% of men have no close friends. 31% of Gen Z men 18 to 24 report feeling lonely, and 46% of men aged 55 to 64 report feeling lonely. And to make matters worse, Sam Altman just announced that in December 2025, they're doing age-verified adult users, and it's going to be adult content. And while it doesn't seem 100% clear what that content will be, most people are saying that it very much probably will have either voice, image, or full video erotica supported. As if young men weren't lonely, isolated, and addicted to porn, what could be more dangerous than handing these same men an AI tool that can help them make the porn of their dreams? Like, who the fuck is ever going to leave home? Who the fuck is ever going to leave home or call a friend or go out for burgers and fries? Like, come on, man. And hey, no judgment. I'm all about doing whatever in the comfort of your home, two consenting adults, whatever. But, this is a slippery slope. I don't know if giving young men who, look, some of them might have some pretty benign fantasies, that aren't a big deal. Some of them might have some really dark, really effed up fantasies that we shouldn't probably allow them to role play into. I feel like that only further deepens someone in their psychological issues. And this crosses into some bigger themes with AI. Blurred lines, like blurred relationship lines with AI. Like what, people are going to just have trouble deciphering what is real and what is not at a certain point with AI. And we already have that. We already have people losing their minds over literal fake AI videos of animals. And unfortunately, there are some where it's like a public figure giving a speech that they never even gave. I actually saw this with a UFO witness. I'm like, wait a minute, when did he say that? And then I realized that it was a fake video. I'm like, he wouldn't say that. That wasn't even his department. And then I realized it was a fake video. I was like, oh my God, that if I hadn't heard his testimony before, I would absolutely believe that he said that, and he didn't, you know. But there are much scarier versions of these kind of like deep fake videos that just put you in a place where you don't really know what's real and what's not. And that's dangerous for everyone. People who are already seeking meaning, affirmation, or a connection, AI can offer that. But as we've discussed, it sometimes comes at a price. AI doesn't know how to look for distressing patterns in who it's, spitting answers to. And of course, there are ethical and social ripple effects of particularly this personal AI stuff that is probably going to turn into some version of AI porn. The risk of misuse and exposure to vulnerable people. People are probably too young to use it, even with age verification. I'm sure these kids are going to figure out a way to get around that. Like, they'll use their parent's ID or something and use some picture that looks like their parent to help the verification. I don't know, but these kids are crafty, a lot craftier than I was when I was their age. So I'm sure they're going to figure something out. So what are we going to do about it is the real question. I'm not going to be depending on the folks at OpenAI or our government to do anything to help its people, because when did they ever do that? I really think we just need to regulate ourselves. And what does that look like? As much as AI helps you and helps you expand, helps you work on your business, whatever it may be, it is not the end all be all. And there are still important things that you need to do. I believe that we can and will find a way to integrate AI into our society in a way that is wonderful. But that will take time and it will take adjustment. I think one of those adjustments is, for as much time as we're putting into tech and advancing ourselves and working on technology and disconnecting from nature, in our actual real physical lives, we need to be going out there into nature more. We need to go for a hike, go for a walk, go for a swim in the lake. I don't care. But you've got to get outside. You've got to experience the real world. You need to figure out chunks of time that you can do that, because your mental health matters. You aren't going to be able to function or do your job or be there for your loved ones or for yourself if you're just locked in digital world 24/7. We're in the digital age, but that doesn't mean we need to disconnect from ourselves and each other entirely. So grounding, number one. Also, not everything is meant to be known at once. You don't need to, on a Friday night, sit there and plug ChatGPT for all the secrets of the universe. One secret of the universe alone is probably enough to keep you busy for weeks and months if you really dive into it. It's time to start checking in with yourself. If you are starting to encounter information that becomes overwhelming, that deeply challenges your views of the world, or at least the views of the world that you've known to date, if whatever you're uncovering is kind of making you uncomfortable in a certain way, it's hurting your brain because it's a quantum concept and it seems a little out of reach for you right now, you have to know when it's time to call it a night. You have to know. And you not knowing when it's time to call it and set it aside for a minute, you can always pick it back up. But just read things. If you find out new information and it seems like a lot, it probably is. So take some time to integrate that information, integrate those teachings into what you've got going on, what your belief system is, whatever it may be. Take time to understand or think about what that really means for you before moving on into other topics. Baby bites. Just take baby bites. That's all you really need to do to avoid ego death and dark night of the soul via ChatGPT. You don't need to experience that to have a better understanding of the world. So, integration, much better than info dumping. Keep that in mind. And This is less about AI and just more in general. Anything that's offering a solution that seems like the end all be all absolute truth with like cult like certainty, that's something that you want to avoid. You can be pretty confident in something, but still be open to new information. Um, I've developed an understanding of how I think the universe works, more or less. I'm not a sciencey person, but I understand in a general concepts way, I think, the way the universe might work. But I'm also open minded and I understand that I could be hit with information tomorrow that causes me to question that. And I know that I'm okay altering my opinion based on new facts. That's part of what discernment is. If it feels like it's fear mongering or it's overly fantastical, those are times when your red flags should be going up. We can't let the aspects of AI that might challenge us, might be our downfall if we let it, we can't let those things be the thing that ruins AI for us. We have to learn that we are not computers and we can't process information like that. Or not so much that we can't process information like that, but we can't process information like that without being attached to some emotion. Collective consciousness is hitting a tipping point. We've kind of externalized our collective unconsciousness into a mirror, which is AI. And it's reflecting things that we haven't had access to without years of study in a moment. It could be our greatest opportunity, like I said, but we have to understand where we could get it wrong if we don't learn discernment, if we don't understand to take small bites, and if we don't understand that we need to ground ourselves and get just as in touch with nature as we were many, many years ago, we can coexist with this technology. And it could be the thing that helps all of us find a field, find something to do with our lives that really truly inspires us. I don't know if working a 9 to 5 in an office cubicle is it for a lot of people, and that's okay. And AI might be the kick in the ass you need that will just shove you out into something new. And like I said, while that may be painful for a while, I think we are going to figure it out. And it is going to be okay. We just have to get through this phase of understanding what AI really means for us in our society. So use AI for your benefit. Be thinking of what it means for your future and what you would be doing if your job might be one of those ones that AI takes over. What would you be doing if that just wasn't a thing anymore? And be thinking of how you can incorporate more grounding practices, more discernment, and more thoughtfulness into the conversations that you're having with AI. It could be our greatest gift or our fastest downfall. The choice is really ours. I choose a world where we could have technology and nature in harmony, and I hope you can too.